reception, transmission. All right.
But what the Rebbe is talking about is not the beetle of oil and the beetle of keli. He's talking about where it reaches up to. What is that infer? What is that about? You must understand what the Rebbe is talking about. The Rebbe is not talking about the humility of the oil, like we were talking now in our lingo. The person is humble. A person is not a balgaiva. Although in truth, there too, there has to be something more real than just a person's own humility. The person, like we said yesterday, the person should be focused on his own humility. He's the biggest balgaiva. In other words, he is self-centered. He's talking about his own madrega. The principle of all qualities, of all avoida, is the connection, lamaylo, the connection to the Creator, to the Meibasher. The significance of beetle is not the humility of the person. Beetle does not mean beetle in his own sense of humility. Humility in the presence of the Meibasher. And he is bottled to the Meibasher. He's bottled his Avodas Hashem. He's bottled because you recognize that he is in the presence of the Meibasher, and that's where he's bottled. And when the Rebbe speaks about the beetle of the keli, he's not speaking about the beetle of the keli in comparison to the beetle of the oil. He's talking about the beetle of the keli, magia l'maylo me'habeetle shel oil. Why are the keli bottled? But magia, because they recognize the madrega for which that they recognize the lamaylo. And as a result of that, their bottle, the madrega and they recognize lamaylo, is a higher madrega than that which oir alludes to or relates to. In both instances, the beetle is due to recognition of the Yonim Medeveder Lamayla, of the source, of the Shaidish. And the beetle of the Keli Magia reaches up to a higher madrega than the beetle of the oil.
I'm sorry, I missed that statement. In both cases, what reaches, the beetle reaches up?
The whole phenomenon of beetle is not the humility of the person or of the keli. The quality of humility, oh, what a nice person he is, he's humble. This is not what this is about. The whole phenomenon of humility of beetle is a reflection of its recognition of the environment where it is, where it functions. It's in the presence of the Creator. Because it's in the presence of the Creator, it is humble. The Kalim, in effect, if we put it in our terms, are conscious of the presence of the Creator in a more pronounced and a more powerful way than the oil. Which is the word magia. A beetle shakila magia reaches up higher than the beetle of the oil. Because the Keli recognizes or relates to the presence, Lamaila, of a higher level than the oil, than what the oil is relating to. This is why the Rebbe goes on to explain that the Keli recognizes the ultimate source from Yigul HaGodel Shlipnei HaKaf. The oil is rooted in the Maki Bakor, the market from which the Kaf comes from. Therefore, it means the beetle of the Keli reaches up, is cognizant of a higher madrege than the beetle of the oil gives testimony to. So I don't know where exactly you you put the inside the mime at the beginning. If I may, I'm intruded here, but if I may, I'd like to start from the line that begins Ho'ayil. At the end of that line, Dehine Yadua. I'm always focused on that which we can translate in our Avodah. Say, to be a masking to start from there, we're going to go on. The Hine Yadua, for it is known. Again, the inference of the word Yodua, it is known. We have to think about this. In other words, this is the Rebbe is saying, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. I'm only making you aware of that which you already know. I'm pointing your attention to that which you already know. That's when you're dua. Phenomenal thing. Where do we know it from if we did not learn it? The answer is, we know it on account of what the neshama itself stands for. Neshama by definition of its own presence, of what neshama is. Neshama in its own mitzvahs is Avodas Hashem. Is fulfilling a divine mission. When the neshama gives life to the body, it is not satisfying its own interest. It gives life to the body in mission, in submission to the divine command, give life to the body. Therefore, even though the life is given to the body by the neshama, but it is given to the life to the body by the neshama as part of a mission from the Mebesh. And fulfilling its duty, its mission, its command from Mebesh. Therefore, life in the body is representative not of the neshama exclusively. It is representative of the Mebesh giving life to the body. The neshama is the means by which it occurs. I'm sorry.
Where,
yeah, go ahead. I have too much breeze over here. I have to just cut off. Just half a second, half a minute. And this is what the Rebbe says. Your dua, it is known, and I pointed out many times that the use of the word your dua, it is known. It means that this is something which is known inherently in the person. This is not something that one has to learn and be explained, that be safe. This is the sense of reality that every person has. Having mentioned this term, sense of reality, I'm compelled to focus in on that and discuss it briefly. When a person acts, and I'll use a very simple demonstration of what I mean by acting. He sits down on a chair next to a table. Sitting down, you would think it's a perfectly natural action by the part of the person, because standing gets him tired. However, you need to understand a broader and a deeper and a more significant spirit in human action. Sitting down next to a table does not reflect a person's own shortcomings, getting tired and so on. It is his way of participating in the reality that the Rebbe made. In order to participate, you have to be settled in and be able to focus in what are you talking about. If you're standing and walking around, you're not settled into the action that you're supposed to be doing. This is just an illustration of the principle. The principle is that in all our activities, our constant activities, our self-awareness is not due to self-awareness. It's due to the awareness of the Meibashter. And through that, we become self-aware. In light of the Meibashter's presence, what is my presence represent? This is the truth of the neshama. This is how the neshama thinks. And if the neshama thinks like this, then that means that our seichel also thinks like this, except we lose sight of it. And we can very easily sidetrack our thought. Hence, this explains the terminology. Again, the hina yodua for it is no. And again, the word yodua, it is no, means it is inherently no. How is it inherently known if you didn't learn it? This is the meaning of a living neshama. The living neshama, by virtue of its own life, is representative of divine truth. Not speaking about itself. Okay, enough of that. You have to continue. Yodua is known. It is known inherently in the neshama, and thus it is known in a subconscious level in the human being. The Mesiras Haguf Magia Lamaila Yesem Mesiras Harefesh. The delegation of the body reaches higher than Mesiras Harefesh. What is the influence with what Magia Lamaila? The whole phenomenon of Mesiras giving up, giving over, is in cognizance of that which you of the higher truth that you are serving. When you send your child to cheder, you send your child to kindergarten, to a playground. It is a misunderstanding when you think, I'm sending your child to a playgroup so that the child will develop. I'm sending a child to a playgroup so the child will experience participation in the reality of life. As a result of this experience and this participation, he will then develop and learn the meaning of life and the duties that come along with it. This is a very important inference, a subtleness in Avodas Zarah. What is the difference between teaching a child and lahabdil training a dog? The dog is also trained to obey commands, verbal commands. Sit down, stand up. Is that similar to what we are teaching the Hagla child? If we just focus in on it, we recognize immediately we're talking about two completely different things completely.
Time check, 5 to 9.
All right, let me just finish this over here. A dog, lahabdil, you're teaching the action. Sit down and stand up. Lahabdil, as a child, you are learning the child to the significance of the sitting up and sitting down and standing up. The significance is due to its environment, due to the fact that there is a big world, there's a divine truth to his life. Totally different. This is an aspect that you cannot possibly teach lahabdil a dog. No way. Only a human child can be taught this and can be taught this thing because he has it inherently as an neshama. This is the influence of the word that constantly in the Rebbe says, magia. It reaches up. Magia. You're teaching him something, do something. Not a human being. When you teach a human being, whatever it is, Mesiras HaNefesh, Mesiras HaGuf, it is in cognizance of the divine truth, divine source, the divine significance of his existence. In that respect, the cognizance of the divine significance, the Rebbe says that there is two distinct levels, generally speaking. Mesiras HaNefesh, Mesiras HaGuf. Mesiras HaNefesh means, in our terms, when you sit and learn with dedication. You learn, I don't want to repeat, just to alert what we discussed today. You learn because that's what you're supposed to do in the Mebash's world and as a Mebash's creation. And then there is also Mesiras HaGuf. Mesiras HaGuf means doing things which are not inspiring in themselves. For instance, putting on tefillin. To learn about tefillin is something which is inspiring. To put on tefillin is a physical action which is not inspiring. This activity of Mesiras Haguf, of giving up experiences, personal preferences on the goof level, in line of fulfilling a mitzvah for the Meibashin, is rooted in a higher source, in a higher cognizance than Mesiras HaNefesh. To put on tefillin with a chayes, one needs to recognize a greater truth, a greater divine presence in his life than to have a chayes in sitting and learning. In both instances, again, I'm repeating, but because we're not aware of this is something which we lose sight of. Briefly again, Lahabdul, a dog can do the same thing that he doesn't whatsoever. Human being is connected to the significance of the divine reality, meaning, spirit behind it. This is what a human being is relating to. And this is true whether a person sits and learns or he does a mitzvah. Doing a mitzvah, a physical action, gives cognizance by the person to a higher element than sitting and learning. This is a synopsis of this principle. Mesiras Haguf, Magia Lamaila Mesiras HaNefesh. Magia means it reaches up to. Inspires it. It makes it fun. All right. Some of your time, but I had to finish this. Okay. Any questions? Whatever time you
What
have.
myths, if possible, to repeat?
I'm sorry?
There's a Zoom connection problem, obviously. The last line was missed. If it's possible to repeat.
I really don't know exactly where to begin. We were learning, I was explaining the words in the Maimer. The Hine Yadua, the Mesiras Haguf, Magia, Lamar, and Yesha Mesiras HaNefesh. Can you hear me now? This is what we're discussing.
But we learned now, till now, that the Kaila reaches higher than the oil. But
Wait
now
a second. Wait a second. Please quote correctly. Not the Keli, the Mesiras Haguf, the submission, the beetle that is possible reaches up higher than the beetle that is possible in the nefesh.
Okay, so this is what we're learning now, that the bitl of the guf reaches higher than the bitl of the nefesh. Is this the same?
Yes, yes, perfect, yes.
Okay.
Now, once you say reaches up, it means clearly you're not talking about the praiseworthiness of Bitul Haguf, the quality of the person who's able to, talking about what he connects to. So we try to explain what is the influence of what he connects to. And here from Bitul HaNefesh and Bitul Haguf is not a representative of a person's own quality of humility, refinement of the human being. This is not what we are dealing with. Refinement of the human being in the real meaningful sense is when he's refined because he recognizes that he's in the presence of the Meibus. It is not self-refinement.
There's a story. There was has always been said over that a mashgiach from the Bala Musar studied to himself that he's nothing. He with the song he sang to himself, "I'm nothing" on Yiddish, and then another bacher near him heard him singing. He participated. He also said, "I'm nothing, I'm nothing," and the mashgiach got angry at him. He said, "Du bist doch taka gunish." But I didn't capture really the point that it's not self-refinement, but it's...
Okay. When a person is humble, honor, he acts with humility, he acts nicely and with submission. Let's give a very simple demonstration of an idea. You have a guest in your house, and you serve this guest a cup of tea. You show him respect to the guest. What is the spirit behind you showing respect to the guest? Are you showing respect to the guest, to the human being? Is that what it's about? Let's translate this going back to Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu had Arabs as his guests, and he was serving them. What was the spirit behind it? What was the significance? He was showing respect to the Arabs. There's a din in halacha that if a person has an animal, the person has to feed the animal before he feeds himself. What's the significance of that? That animal should take precedent of the human being? In all of these aspects, it is giving cognizance and giving an understanding and reflecting the fact this animal is the Meibusher's creation. And when you are giving respect to the creator of this creature.
But why is the animal first?
This is a mitzvah in the Torah. We can go into that. The animal. The reason that you have to give the animal first is precisely this: that if you feed yourself first, you cannot tell that whether you're feeding yourself because you're hungry, but because you're doing Avodas Hashem. When you feed the animal first, it's clearly only due to the fact that you're supporting the Meibusher's creature.
Okay, so we're in the middle of explaining about another, that it's not self-refinement.
Right. This is what the word magia infers. The humility is not your personal refinement. It is in light of the presence of the Creator. And this is the stance that we are taught to recognize. We are always at all times in the presence of our Creator. That's why there is a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. When a person lies in bed, there's a certain way that he should lie. He's going to sleep, it's a big deal. When he gets up, there's a certain way how to get up.
In other words, it's not what he accomplished for himself. It's what's being reached at. Where is being reached at?
In whose service is he doing all of these things?
I would like to see if we can find a minute that you could go to.
What?
Maybe there's a minute you could go to 10 o'clock.
This is inferred. This is clearly inferred in the words. Magia lemailo. Meaning to say that this is not an act on its own. It's an act that is reflective of the spirit that inspired this act. That's what it says. The person learns. Amnashe kore rav. It's not the way to learn. He's Amnashe kore rav. He wants to develop himself. That's not what learning is about.
But we say but Talmud Torah can get kilam, and now we learn that the mitzvah is higher than learning.
Talmud Torah is also a mitzvah. Except that in Talmud Torah, it is possible for a person to lose sight of what he is really doing. And he may be swayed by the accomplishment of his learning. He's becoming a Nashe Korirav. But if he is doing Talmud Torah because it's a mitzvah, it's no less than any other mitzvah, as a matter of fact, it's greater. That's what Talmud Torah Kneged Kula.
Why is it greater now? Because he's more tempted to take it for himself.
But Talmud Torah Kneged Kula, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
We can attempt to discuss it. But before I go, I just want to mention, Al Yeshiv, Vishekim, Mitzvah Shal Teva. We are not really in a position to understand the significance of Mitzvah Torah.
It all came in because the Rebbe said that Mesiras HaGuf is higher than Mesiras Nefesh, and I think was explained.
Wait a second. We misquoted. Magia l'mayla Mesiras HaNefesh. Magia means it reaches up.
Okay, so what we said that I think it was said that the mitzvah reaches up higher than mitzvah of Talmud Torah.
Mitzvah with the guf, a mitzvah performed with the guf, reaches up higher than the mitzvah performed with the seichel. In terms of it being a mitzvah. The reason for that is, that's what Rabbi explained, because the guf is sourced l'maylo. It's a source l'maylo higher than the Mesiras HaNefesh.
Someone said over all the chassid from the Rebbe Rashab, you heard it from the Rebbe Rashab, that what's a mesnaged? A mesnaged is a machzik tevisa lenafshai.
A what?
Machzik tevisa lenafshai.
Oh, yeah, no.
So does it go in line with what we're saying today about Magia? It's not about self purification or so.
Yeah, well, it's a similar thing.
Just want to say, there's we speak about Anova. It was always it was a joke, but it couldn't be understood from this. There was a bocher who had every mile, and every shidduch he said, it's not for me because I have so much miles, so he couldn't get engaged. So the shadchan told him, you have all the miles. One mile is still missing, is Anova, and that's why you can get married. So he said, you know what, I'm going to start working on Anova. So he worked for 30 days, and the shadchan came over with a shidduch. He said, yes, I worked on Anova, and the shidduch was proposed, and he said, I can't do it because now I have another mile too. I'm an onof too.
Yeah. Rabbi Paltiel said this story in Yeshiva and Seagate many years ago.
Oh.
It reminded me.
Okay, but there's no more questions. I want to ask something. I tried once about the starting of the shir, because sometimes we start in the middle of an Indian, and the other day we struggled to find a place. But the end of the sheet today, let's say, we can establish now where is not in the middle of the Indian to start tomorrow. I think would be helpful.
The problem is that tomorrow, the ideas that are into your mind now will vanish. Tomorrow you start with a clear slate, and then you start wherever you start is in the middle. You
But
have to,
then why
everything has
do
to
we
be
ask?
introduced.
Yeah, but we always ask where we ended yesterday. So if you want to start, we could start. But we do ask where we finished yesterday.
The problem is not where we finished. Again, there, without an introduction. That's why there's always a couple of minutes as introduction to where we are. That is inevitable, really.